So for the newcomers, my name is Brenda Vinge, founder of Sustainable Campaign. Thank you very much for subscribing and sharing the YouTube channel with your network. I really appreciate it. So feel at home. This is a channel or a platform where we promote awareness on matters sustainability. You can look at the previous video where I've tried to explain in depth on what this YouTube channel is all about. So thank you very much for subscribing and continue sharing the YouTube channel. Click on the notification bell so that once I've uploaded any video, you're notified. So today, without further ado, I am privileged and honored to have this person on board. He happens to be a friend, and we were in the same campus. So I'll let him introduce himself and tell us why we are, and since he's an expert in a particular field that you mentioned, so we will dive in after he has introduced himself. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Brenda. As I said, I'm very much honored to be with you this evening. My name is Winstone Atamba. I am the Director Climate Change in the County Government of Vihiga. I am a climate change specialist with a background in environmental planning and management. Thank you.
Okay, so we are very honored. We have a climate change expert on. This is a particular field that I'm also happy to have this discussion with because it is my specialist. I have specialized in it as well. So I'm so honored to have you, Winston, and I'm ready to learn a lot from you and my audience as well. I think that they'll be very happy to learn a lot from you. So, Winston, as we begin, people have had all sorts of myths, others scientific notions on matters climate change. So climate change has been is actually a serious issue currently globally. So, you being an expert, what do you see are the major climate change risks or hazards that we are experiencing? I know you are in the lake region basin region, yeah. So I don't know if we'll just focus on the lake region basin or Kenya as a whole. So just let us know what are the main climatic risks that you are currently experiencing.
Okay, thank you very much, Brenda. I have a lot of experience working within the lake region, the counties of Kisumu, Kakamega, Vihiga, Nandi, in matters of climate change programming. Okay. And we have managed to meet a lot of people on the ground. We have managed to look at the natural resources in these areas. And one thing is common, that climate change is threatening the livelihood systems upon which many people depend within the lake region. And it is not different from Kenya at large, because we meet in climate change forums, even at national level, where the story is barely the same. The most common impacts of climate change in this country and in the lake region economic bloc is increased incidences of climate change extreme events like floods, like droughts, like increased shifting in the crop production seasons. So people used to plant in February, now rains delay up to April towards May. These are some of the impacts of climate change. Another common impact is the increased prevalence of insect pests, because the temperatures are rising. So it provides more conducive environment for insect pests such as mosquitoes and flies to survive. So they multiply in their numbers. Therefore, ultimate result will be increased prevalence of diseases like malaria. Okay. Another impact of climate change that we can talk about is increased severity of droughts. When the droughts come, they are more severe. They sweep away everything, especially now this is in the arsal areas. Therefore, with the policies and development effort need to put into consideration the impacts of climate change as we do planning for development. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for sharing that. So we've seen, you have told us that there are extremities when it comes to climatic events, issues to do with prolonged dry spell and floods. And maybe if I'm to ask, what do you think, or rather, what makes other people more vulnerable to these climatic risks? Why are some people experiencing the consequences or the impacts of climate change worse off than others?
Well, it is true, climate change is a universal thing. The climate is changing for everyone, but the impact of it on certain population differs from household to household, from area to area, from one individual to another, depending on a number of factors that we call drivers of vulnerability. Vulnerability is just the state of a person or an institution or an area that makes it more prone to the impacts of climate change or the effects of climate change if you are looking at it in the short term.
Yeah.
And these drivers of vulnerability are quite a number. Like knowledge is one of the drivers of vulnerability. That if a person knows that climate is changing, or an entity like a government knows that climate is changing, they are likely to put in place measures to safeguard people or to safeguard themselves against the impacts of climate change. Another very important issue or driver of vulnerability is what you call poverty levels. The more poor a person or an entity is, be it a government, a business, or an individual, is, the more vulnerable it is to climate change. Because lack of resources or alternatives that are climate resilient require resources.
Yeah.
If a poor household, for example, Brenda, largely relies on, let's say, wood fuel or fuel wood
Yes.
for cooking,
Yeah.
it means that should the climate change and then production of food diminishes, it means that this household cannot have access to cooking energy,
Yes.
as opposed to a richer household which can access alternative sources of energy such as solar or even biogas or cooking gas.
Yeah.
So poverty is a major driver of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Another driver of vulnerability is the political status of the area. There are political leadership that acknowledges that there's climate change. There's political leadership that says there's no climate change. The leadership that acknowledges presence of climate change puts in place mechanisms to safeguard its people against the climate change. And these mechanisms are usually through investments in climate resilience projects such as supply of water for the people.
Yeah.
When such mechanisms are put in place, people become more resilient as opposed to the denying sort of kind of authorities. And then another driver is physical location. If you are located next to a natural resource that is more likely to be affected by climate change, then you are more vulnerable. For example, communities staying next to shores of lakes or rivers are more vulnerable to climate change as compared to communities that are living at higher lands, if flooding is to be considered as one of the impacts of climate change.
Okay.
And then lastly, maybe being an urban or rural population also affects, because climate change affects these populations differently, Brenda.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for all those drivers that makes other people experience impacts or the consequences of climate change worse off than others. These are people who are more sensitive to impact of climate change. Those people who are maybe who have the less or their adaptive capacity is undermined, and the exposure to climate change impacts is also high. So thank you very much for those drivers. So maybe if we can narrow it down to your county, you being the director of climate change in Vihiga County. What are the current ongoing adaptation options that maybe the farmers or the people are engaged in or are adapting to climate change?
The first thing, we are looking at it at a multiple level or a multi approach.
Okay.
We have a number of approaches. First is to increase awareness.
Mm-hmm.
By increasing awareness, we have programs on radio. We meet the people in halls, especially before the COVID-19 situation got worse.
Okay.
But right now, we usually we focus more on those kind of platforms that do not require people to meet physically, especially the radio.
Mm-hmm.
This awareness raising makes people put in place measures or adopt measures that strengthen their resilience to climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Another action that we are doing as a county, we have put in place policies, plans, programs, and legislations or laws that direct the agenda that the county takes in terms of climate change. We have a climate change policy, we have a climate change act, and this act is the one that governs our adaptation effort as a government. It is the one through which we apportion 2% of our development effort for 2% of our development budget for climate change issues. Another action that we take, Brenda, is that we are investing in climate resilient projects, climate smart agriculture. We are promoting it. We are also doing some bit of mitigation by investing in rehabilitation of degraded natural resources. In this particular is the over 1,000 acres of Maragoli Hills. We are currently on it. We are trying to rehabilitate it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so actually saw, I think it was a picture that you posted that you're currently rehabilitating the degraded site. Is it the Maragoli one that you're saying?
Yes, although it is not the only one, we are working around programs to rehabilitate all the degraded forests within our county borders.
Okay, so if you can just say that the current adaptation options, how are the farmers adoption levels? Are they really embracing these adaptation options?
Yeah, communities are really enthusiastic about the climate change options that we are providing for them.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the climate change options that you are providing are cheaper. For example, if a community water supply system used to be electric powered and we are promoting it to be solar powered, it means that this community is not going to pay electricity bills, and it's something that they like so much.
Yeah.
And they even participate in the mitigation efforts that you are doing. The rehabilitation of the Maragoli Hills was largely led by the Maragoli Hills Community Forest Association. So I can say largely the community is very enthusiastic towards embracing climate smart way of production and way of life. Yeah.
Okay. So are there challenges that affect your adaptation strategies?
Yeah, there are numerous challenges. First is sometimes the climate change governance is a new concept altogether, and there are sometimes when people do not understand what money meant for climate change is supposed to do, and which in this case, Brenda, it is not different from the mainstream development. For example, climate change challenges are the usual development challenges that we usually talk about. When you talk of things like reduced yield of water sources, rivers drying up, springs not yielding as much water that can sustain communities that usually used to rely on them, these are development challenges in as much as they are climate change challenges. So the challenge of linking the development aspect to climate change for many people is still there. But we are working. That is why we are having robust awareness challenges. I mean, awareness programs. Another challenge is inadequate resources. As you know, there's quite a challenge of resource flow into counties, delayed disbursement of funds by the exchequer. All these affect negatively the climate change programs, but we are hopeful that devolution is still a young way of, a young form of governance. As it takes roots, all these challenges will go away with time. That is what I can say for now, Brenda.
Okay, so given these challenges, and if were they to be tackled, do you think that you can do more with regards to adaptations to climate change or climate risk management? Do you think that you'll scale up your operations in adapting to climate change, or rather, what are other potential adaptation options that you are likely to consider as a county or even as a country?
First of all, I'll respond to the first bit of your question. Is there more that you can do? Yes, that there's a lot that you can do. Should more resources be available to us? Because as we are speaking, we have 25 wards in the county, for example. And out of the 25, we have only managed to establish climate change committees in less than 10. So it means that we have more than 15 to cover. So even establishment of governance structures, we are not yet through. There is a lot that needs to be done, because for there to be effective response to climate change, it means that we need to strengthen the governance structures.
Okay.
In Vihiga, governance structures means that the committees at ward level for identification of climate change challenges and writing proposals to respond to the challenges. Then we have a county climate change planning committee, which is the technical body that gives the strategic direction to the ward committees and to climate change, where the director of climate change is the secretary. And then we have the steering committee, which is chaired by His Excellency the Governor. This is the framework within which we govern climate change issues in Vihiga. But we are yet to realize our full potential because of inadequate availability of resources. But we are still fundraising so that our partners, there may be other partners doing climate change works in the county, but unless we work together, you may find that there is duplication of effort, or you may find that we are not getting the best that you can get from the resources that are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Winston. So, scientists have come up with simulations, and some are saying that in 2100, the world will be inhabitable due to the impacts of climate change. What's your take on that? Do we just have up to 2100 to be on this planet, and the planet will be all dead? It will no longer be there. What's your take on that?
There are such predictions,
Yeah.
especially based on the fact that there's already what you call committed carbon.
Yes.
Committed global warming.
Yeah.
Committed global warming refers to the scenario that already the carbon or the greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere will lead to increasing temperature even if we stop production of further greenhouse gases, that the temperature will still continue to rise, because there's already too much carbon that it will take quite some time to reduce from the atmosphere. Be that as it may, I think we have to be a bit optimistic that the planet system is not going to collapse, because countries are doing all that they can to reduce their emission. Countries are cutting on their emission. We saw the United States last year getting back into the Paris. In fact, it was this year
Yeah.
getting back its
Yeah.
commitment into the Paris Agreement.
Yeah.
This means that, Brenda, for the universe to collapse, the Earth system to collapse, it means that that is extinction of human. And
Yes.
the human beings, we as humans, we have been made in such a way that we have to work to secure our own existence first. So even if it means, if it reaches a certain point when collapse of the Earth system will be imminent, it means that all resources, all the brain shall be oriented towards how can we pump back, how can we remove, whether it is now actively removing the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere through technology that will be there at that point in time. So I can assure you that yes, it is very important that action be taken to reduce the emissions that are there today, because as I stated earlier, it is making it difficult for people to even meet their livelihoods. People, we are seeing increased incidences of diseases, cancer, like due to emission of chlorofluorocarbons that yes, that eat away the ozone layer that protects us from the sun's ultraviolet rays. All these are really negatively impacting on human health. But to say that the Earth system will collapse, it may not come to pass, because you remember Professor Thomas Malthus's theory that by 2000, by the close of the millennium, the population of man will have been so much, but the Earth will not be in a position to provide for man, to provide enough to sustain man, and that men will die in their numbers due to their inability of the earth to produce enough to feed them. But conversely, as we saw, as the population increases, ingenuity of man to produce more food on a smaller area increased, so that if you go to, for example, Cherangani Hills, or if you go to Naivasha, the tomatoes that could be produced maybe in 5 acres in a year are being produced just in a 100 by 200 feet greenhouse in 3 months. So man is a very adaptive creature, I can say, Brenda.
It's true. And thanks for bringing that up. So we also had this discussion a while back, hydroponics technology, where we had an expert, Dr. Peter Shege, who was able to tell people how they can produce more with a very little space. So definitely we'll be able to adapt more with time. And so there is hope. For those who are asking me, there are some people, some of my subscribers have been asking me if indeed we have only 70 years to be alive. So some were really worried. So there you have it. You heard it from the expert himself. There is hope that with time we'll be able to come up with mechanisms to be able to survive. So that is also if we are able to reduce on the greenhouse gas emissions, if you're able to engage in planting of trees and engaging in sustainable agriculture, and sustainable land management practices, soil and water conservation, then we shouldn't have a problem. Maybe as we wind up, Winston, there's this also discussion that indigenous people have been very key in climate change. What do you think? Is there an integration of the scientific approach and the indigenous knowledge in tackling climate change and in climate change management?
Yes, that's a very important aspect. In fact, I was wondering how we can finish this conversation without having touched that.
Okay.
Indigenous knowledge and indigenous ways of life are very, very crucial in tackling the impacts of climate change.
Mhm.
And this is in two ways. We have got indigenous production and indigenous knowledge. There's a way people used to preserve their foods earlier.
Mhm.
There's a certain kind of food that are suitable in given areas.
Mhm.
All these are being promoted so as to to secure communities in food wise, so that communities can be food secure. But when it
Mhm.
comes to information, for example, here in Vihiga, we have got a community weathermen,
Okay.
indigenous, we call them indigenous climate information servicemen.
Okay.
They do their predictions.
Mhm.
The Met department does its predictions, and then they come together. Then we see which one comes to pass, which one do not come to pass, and you will find that in most cases both of them are correct. So
Nice.
indigenous knowledge is something that cannot be overlooked if you
Mhm.
want to strengthen climate resilience. And counties have got a very good opportunity to mobilize indigenous communities
Mhm.
through climate change governance structures at the lowest levels of their governance,
Okay.
so as to incorporate the indigenous knowledge and ways of life in climate change governance.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. So that's quite an interesting approach in climate information, because that's like providing the early warning systems.
Yes.
So that's a very quite interesting approach, because I've also seen it in some counties in Kenya where they're engaged in participatory scenario planning, which is similar to that, where the indigenous knowledge people come and give their predictions, and the meteorological department as well. So they come up, they sit together and come up with the early warning systems and the weather advisories. So that's good to know. So through on my end, I just want to appreciate you. Thank you very much, Winston. And maybe for my subscribers, through this discussion, what are the main climate change risks that are affecting whichever part of the world that you're in? I know I have some subscribers in Kenya mostly, but I actually have also subscribers outside Kenya. So maybe can we just have a discussion in the comment section? Let me know, what are the main climatic risks that you're experiencing. Are you experiencing some prolonged dry spells, incidences of droughts? Yeah. Are you experiencing floods? Are you experiencing issues to do with hailstorms, frosts? Uh, which one? Which else? Winston? Yes, all these.
Yeah. Increase
Yeah,
in pests.
yes,
Yeah.
increased incidences of pests,
Yeah.
landslides, mudslides. I was in Morang a while back, and there's a really, really great challenge when it comes to the landslides and the mudslides. Are you experiencing these things? Or maybe in the coast, are you experiencing the rise in the sea levels? Talk to me. Let us engage so that we know the way forward, and maybe through this we can come up with another discussion on the same. So Winston, mine is to really thank you. I know you're very busy. Guys, this is the director of climate change in Vihiga County, so he has a very busy schedule, and he was able to join us today, and I really appreciate it, Winston. Thank you very much. You're always a phone call away. Brenda, do you want us to have this? Fine. So thank you very much for uh, honoring my invite to join my YouTube channel. So thank you very much. I don't know. I'll give you the floor. If you have something to say, then we will wind up after that.
I want to first of all to say thank you very much again for having me on this show. it has been a very good experience for us to just discuss climate change issues. And what I can say is that it is indeed true that the climate is changing, and from the information that you gathered from the people across the lake region, that the changing climate is making it very difficult for common man to secure a livelihood, and therefore there is a need for concerted action or efforts to be taken to act on the changing climate. And this action are both at household and at institutional level. At household level, there are those things that you can do to play your part. For example, you can change the mode of cooking. Maybe you switch to cleaner cooking means, such as not using firewood and you switch to gas. You can choose to be switching off lights when you're not using them. You can just be cooking just enough food that you need so that there are not much leftovers to save on wastage, and many more. And at institutional level, we need to put in place policies, plans, and programs to strengthen the people's ability to respond to climate change. And for us to be able to do that, we need to build partnerships with like-minded people, with like-minded organizations, so as to give us the required resources, or we work together to pull together the required technical and financial resources that can enable us to respond to climate change issues within the communities. Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, thank you very much. So guys, if there's anyone there, maybe a donor there who is willing to work with the county government of Vihiga County, then you can reach you can just maybe let me know or Winstone know, because he's doing a lot. There are a lot of programs that he has mentioned that are currently ongoing that needs financial support. So like the one for rehabilitation of Maragoli Hill. So if there's anyone there who is willing to work with the county government of Vihiga County, so Winstone is the right person to talk to. He's the director. So mine is to thank you very much for coming again, and also to my viewers, thank you for supporting this channel and sharing the content. I believe that we have learned a lot when it comes to climate change from the expert himself. So Winston, I know that we will keep in touch. If there's any other discussion that we can have later in the future, I know that you will humbly accept the invite.
I will anytime,
Okay.
Brenda.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, thank you very much. So kwaheri, Winston, we will talk. Yeah,
karibu, we will talk. Okay. Brenda.
Okay, bye. Okay. And bye, guys. Okay.
Yeah.